Have you ever made a decision in anger, and later wished you hadn't? Once in a faraway kingdom, a young king lost his greatest teacher. Not in battle, not to time, but to his own temper. Blinded by rage, he sent away the one person who guided him through every storm. But when regret came knocking, it was too late, or so he thought. What happened next would teach him, and us, the true power of patience and how calm thinking can turn even the deepest mistakes into wisdom. Hello everyone and welcome to The Timeless Words. Today's story will teach us something very important. Why we should never make decisions in anger and how a calm mind can help us find the best solutions, even in the most difficult moments. While listening to this story, we'll also learn new English words and practice how to use them in sentences. So stay with us till the end, and let's enjoy learning English through this inspiring tale. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom surrounded by golden fields and deep forests, there lived a young king named David. At only 25 years old, David had inherited the throne after his father's passing. He was kind, brave, and full of dreams, but still learning how to lead. Since childhood, David had been guided by a wise old teacher named Edward. Edward wasn't just a teacher, he was like a father figure. He taught David not only about history and science, but also about kindness, patience, and wisdom. After the old king's death, Edward became David's chief advisor, the person David trusted most in the world. Together they ruled the kingdom with fairness and peace. Everything was going smoothly, until one terrible year. A great food crisis hit the kingdom. The crops failed and the people began to starve. The mistake, it turned out, came from a wrong weather forecast made under Edward's supervision. When David heard the news, he felt betrayed and angry. In the heat of his rage, he shouted, "You've failed me, Edward. Leave the kingdom and never return." Edward, shocked and heartbroken, didn't argue. He bowed deeply and said softly, "As you wish, my king." And just like that, the wise teacher walked away from the palace, the place he had served all his life. Edward traveled far, finally settling in a small, peaceful village. Though he had enough wealth to live comfortably, he chose a simple life. He built a small house, grew vegetables, and helped his neighbors whenever they needed advice. Soon, everyone respected him, not as a minister but as a humble and wise farmer. Meanwhile, back in the palace, King David struggled. Every decision felt heavy. Every day felt uncertain. Without Edward's guidance, he often made mistakes, and deep down he began to realize something painful. "I acted in anger, and lost the wisest man I ever knew." Regret grew in David's heart. He missed his mentor, not just as a teacher but as a friend. David decided to find Edward and bring him back. He sent soldiers across mountains and rivers. Days turned into weeks, but there was no sign of him. The kingdom was vast, and Edward had disappeared without a trace. Then one day an idea sparked in David's mind. He thought, "If I can't find Edward, perhaps I can find his wisdom." So he sent a strange message across the land. Every village received a letter and a clay jar from the king. The letter said, "Return this jar filled with wisdom within 1 month. If you fail, send it back filled with precious jewels." Everyone was confused. How can wisdom be placed in a jar? In one village, the same village where Edward lived, the leader was worried. He quickly went to Edward and said, "Please, sir, help us. We cannot fill a jar with wisdom or with jewels. What should we do?" Edward thought for a moment, then smiled calmly. "Don't worry. Give me the jar. By the end of the month I'll make sure it's filled with wisdom." The villagers trusted him. They left the jar and went home. Days passed. As Edward worked in his garden, he noticed a small pumpkin vine growing nearby. An idea bloomed in his mind. He gently placed a tiny pumpkin inside the clay jar without cutting it off the vine. Day after day he watered it and cared for it. Slowly the pumpkin grew, larger and larger, until it filled the jar completely. When it couldn't grow any further, Edward cut the vine and sealed the jar. It was now full of wisdom in its own way. He sent it back to the king with a small note. "Wisdom cannot be given, only grown." When King David opened the jar, he was stunned. Inside was a giant pumpkin, grown perfectly within the jar. He whispered, This could only be Edward's work. Tears filled his eyes as he finally understood the message. Just like the pumpkin, wisdom grows with time and patience, not in moments of anger. That day, David set out himself to find Edward, not as a king commanding a subject, but as a student seeking forgiveness. So, what can we learn from this story? First, never make decisions in anger. Strong emotions can cloud your judgment and lead to regrets. Second, always take a moment to calm down before solving a problem. A peaceful mind helps you see clearly and choose wisely. And third, remember, wisdom grows just like that pumpkin. It takes patience, reflection, and understanding. Today we also learned a few new English words. Patience, calmly waiting for the right moment. Regret, feeling sorry about something you did. Wisdom, understanding what is right and true. Now try making sentences with them in the comments below. Thank you for watching The Timeless Words. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep growing, one story at a time. Please subscribe and share your friends. See you in the next video.